this is Joe Welinske from Writers UA, and I've been interviewing some of the folks who will be giving talks at our conference coming up in Charleston, South Carolina in October. So we have a lot of interesting activities coming up for that, and today I'm visiting with Anita Horsley. Hello, Anita.
Hi, Joe.
I'm I'm in Seattle. My office actually Vashon Island. Where are you speaking to us from today?
Actually, I'm speaking from Charleston, South Carolina.
All right. Well, yeah, I know you travel a lot, so it's good to see that you're back here for a while. What kinds of things have you been working on generally?
Well, I've been doing a lot of e-learning and m-learning development, and as well as traveling and teaching Adobe Captivate and Adobe Presenter. So when I'm not teaching, I'm developing, and vice versa. So I'm staying really busy, which is good. Busy's a good thing.
And do you do most of that through private engagements for clients, or do you do public classes or any university classes or anything like that?
Yeah, I work for several. Well, I work for myself, so I have my own consulting agency, and so I do private online and instructor-led training. But I also work for eSync training, Engage training, Icon Logic. Um, let's see. So I work for other agencies that already do those things, and they hire me to instruct for them. I just recently went to Dubai to teach Captivate out there, and that was actually from somebody that saw me present at one of the conferences, and that was how I got that gig. So
Well, I know at the conference, your topic is going to be talking about some more advanced techniques, but just like generally, um, how do you find things in terms of people's experience when you're doing your classes? Are you usually taking people through from they're completely new to it? Do you find that to be the most common in your work, or like, or people have already been working with it? Like, what do you tend to find in your world?
it's a real mix. So there's it's from one end of the spectrum to the other, really. I would say that I mean, let's say if I have a class of 8 people, I'm going to get some that have no experience at all, two or three, and then I'll get some that have more advanced experience. I'd say maybe intermediate experience. And then I've got some that are self-taught, and so what they tend to get out of it is a lot of tips and tricks to be more effective and time efficient in their development. So it's always a spectrum, unless I do a one-on-one, and then I can really customize it. Um, and I do customize all my training. I send out a questionnaire, and I have questions about their levels. So I come into the classes usually with an idea of where they're at, and how to effectively get the beginners as well as the more intermediate people to, try not to be too far advanced, but also keep the more advanced people interested with more advanced stuff too.
Well, at
So that's
the conference, you're going to be one of the things you're going to talk about are advanced actions and variables, and so maybe you could just explain a little bit about where that fits in terms of Captivate development, and who would be interested in that and why.
Well, Captivate is really such a cool product because so many features are out of the box. So a beginner can take Captivate's out of the box features like learning interactions and smart shapes and create really cool e-learning. But advanced actions take take the interactivity and the engagement to the next level. And even beyond that is JavaScript, which actually just had one of our webinars. I do an Adobe e-learning user group for the Carolinas, and we do online sessions each month. And last session, Jim Leichleiter did one on Captivate and JavaScript, and so that's an even more advanced level. I'm not even there yet, but I really love teaching advanced actions, partly because I started out not being good at it at all. So I understand where people are coming from that are not script writers and that, need that sort of extra attention to learn how to do that, because, a lot of us come into e-learning not being script writers. And so, that wasn't really my forte. And it took me a couple of years to really develop that skill. And I feel like I still have a long way to go, but I really enjoy teaching other people to take those steps, because it took me taking those steps, to get to a place where I can take learning a little bit further.
And what are some of the advantages or the opportunities that are opened up if for people that acquire the skills of working with scripting? What types of things that benefits will they be able to add to their deliverables?
Well, making learning more engaging. So, people learn by seeing, hearing, and doing. And so part of the practice of creating that doing is by creating the interaction. And so there are definitely out of the box features like drag and drop and some learning interactions. But if you want to even take it even further, like recently I did a drag and drop for the University of West Virginia, and it was building a car. And so it was a progressive, like, the person picked a car part like the wheel, but they had choices of which type of wheel. And so when they went to the next screen, they saw what they picked. And so that was coding. That was from creating advanced actions so that we could recall what the previous screen did into the next screen and into the next screen. And so every choice they made, the car, they ended up building their own car. And so that's what advanced actions can do. It can just make it more interesting and more interactive, and it's almost like it's magic. When you make it happen, it's very magical and it seems seamless to the learner, but to the developer, it's a lot of concentration.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, another area of interest that we're going to be talking about quite a bit at the conference is that of responsive design, and so that's a big buzzword. You hear people talking about that a lot. It means somewhat different things to different people in different situations. You're specifically going to talk about it in the context of the types of things that you work on. So, where are you finding that to be important in your work?
well, almost all my clients these days want their e-learning to be also available on iPads, and some, not all, but iPhones. It's not as in my world, or at least the people that I hire, the iPhones hasn't been the big call. It's mostly been the iPads. But M learning, when responsive design, can actually repurpose the objects that you put on your slide and to make it look like it fits onto that screen more functionally, and make it look better on a particular size screen. And so that's what responsive design does. And that's, and with Captivate 8 now, you can easily create the same course, but just reorient, I guess, reposition the size and position of the objects to the size device that you're, to all the size devices if you want. So it makes it much easier to develop for all devices versus having to develop 3 or 4 or 5 different courses for different size devices.
Have there been any particular challenges associated with that, or things that once you get into it, you find that there's some issues? I know in my work doing user assistance with mobile apps. As I've done things with responsive design, I find that when I actually test things out, try things on different devices, that I do find some discrepancies, and doesn't
Mm-hmm.
always end up the way that
You think?
it thinks in principle. I was just wondering if you run into any of those types of situations.
Yeah, well, I've been actually teaching a responsive design class for Kevin Siegel's Icon Logic, and one of the things that I really stress to the students is that when you've got to test. I mean, you know, I sort of think traditionally a lot of us have tested after we built a course. We build a course, we publish it to the LMS, and then we test. You don't really want to do that with M-learning, because you're catering to so many different size devices. And so the nice thing about Captivate, there's two really cool things. I mean, there's more than that, but as far as testing and preview, one is that you can preview right on the browser, and it has a slider. The students don't see that, but you see that. So you can actually use that slider to see all the different size devices and what your objects are going to look like. And so it takes takes testing to see how it's going to look on all those different size devices. And the first time you do it, you're going to be like, oh my God, it looks terrible on X size device. And so then you go back to Captivate and rearrange the objects and test it again. You can also test through Adobe Edge Animate, where you're actually testing on the device itself if you have Adobe Edge Animate through Creative Cloud or what have you. And so you don't actually have to publish your course in order to see what it's going to look like on a particular size device. So those are two really great previewing experiences that Captivate 8 offers that allow you to really test it before you publish it, which is what as you know, developing apps, you have to test. That's, sometimes the testing takes just as long as the developing.
Mm-hmm. All right, great. Well, thanks for taking a few minutes to talk about things that you're involved in and you'll be talking about next month. And I will see you when we get to Charleston.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be there, and it's in my hometown, so anybody can ask me questions about tour guiding. so, and I'm
So,
excited to
so
present.
what's your what do you think? So, when people come to town to visit you, they're like, I know when people come to visit me, there's always a certain routine that I know people want to see. So, like, what are your top couple of things that you always do with people that visit?
Uh, well, one is one of the horse tours, because the people that do those tours are very they know the town, they know the history, and so I always love doing one of the little horse carriage tours with folks. A walking tour is also really good. They have some awesome ghost tours as well, some night ghost tours, which are very cool. And then I usually take people on the ferry over to the island where losing losing the name. It's where the Civil War essentially began,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Fort Sumter.
yeah, thank you, Fort Sumter. Yeah, so I usually take people over there to see Fort Sumter, and they have they have a little museum and interesting things going on there. So those are the main things
All
that
right.
I do with folks.
All
Yeah,
right. Well, those are some good tips. All right. Cool. Well, so I'll see you at the end of October.
awesome. So excited. Thanks, Joe.
All right. Thanks, Anita.
All right, bye.